It was at this moment she knew, she was screwed.
Hello everybody. I am the unsinkable Bun, but you can call me Bunny. Today I wanted to do something different. Instead of my usual bad jokes and dad jokes, I want to talk about some interesting things that happened in my life, before I fell in the rabbit hole of video games. So, the premiere story will be about the time I took part in a county archery tournament when I was in middle school. Even though it wasn't a state or national tournament, it was still a pretty big deal for a middle schooler. This was back in the, I think, fall or winter. Or maybe even spring just before summer break. I don't remember. Our PE teacher, we'll call him Mr. Pedigree, decided instead of the usual pull-ups and soccer games, we'll give archery a try. I wasn't all that interested in it at the time. Very few of the girls did even. The boys however were all eager to play with the ancient instrument of war. I declined giving it a try for a while, for about a day or two, making me one of the last of the girls to give it a try. By this time, we all lined out in the field with our own school-issue bows. For many of us, if not all of us, this was the first time we ever held a bow or even saw a real archery target. Mr. Pedigree then went over the proper steps on how to hold and handle a bow. Feet apart, address our target. Hold the bow horizontal, notch the arrow with odd-colored feather up. Hold the notch with our first 3 fingers, the index and middle fingers pinching the arrow's notch. Hold the bow vertical, elbow up and straight with the arrow and pull. This was probably not how he said it, but I remember it, that's all it matters. Anyways, I hesitated at first, seeing the other students try and very often missing, but I focused on the other girls and how they were doing it, and I just went ahead and did my best. My first shot was a near bullseye. I remember one of the girls shouting to our teacher, Mr. Pedigree, "Look! Bunny got a bullseye." Mr. Pedigree came over to take a look, and indeed saw an arrow near the center of the target I was using. He said to me, "Bunny, did you run over and stick that arrow there?" I was getting all flustered, but I shook my head, trying to make a gesture to explain that I did shoot the arrow. As a reminder to those new to the channel, I am mute and I can't talk. Then he says to me, "Let me see you do it." All the students stopped doing what they were doing and started watching me. I took my bow and did as instructed, taking aim and hitting near the center again. He coached me further, "Very good, remember that feeling and try again." I remembered how it felt when I took aim, and tried again. I nearly hit where the last arrow hit. Mr. Pedigree then used me as an example of what we can do if we relax, stay focused, and respect our instruments. Then, we proceeded with more practice. We proceeded with doing archery practice for the next week, with me maintaining the constant record of being one of the best shots in the class, if not the best shot in the class. At the end of the week, Mr. Pedigree called me to his office. He told me he was very impressed with my talent and said that there is an archery tournament coming up soon, and wants me to be on the archery team to represent our school. At this time, I grew to love the sport. This is something I wanted to keep doing. I already had dreams of going to the Olympics. But before I can be officially drafted into the team, there are 2 more students who needed to try out. If either one of them can get close or even beat my record, then they take my potential spot on the team. Over the next week, I kept up the archery practice to try to secure a spot on the team while waiting for the other 2 tryouts, both boys, to give their shot. After the end of a second week, they finally tried, and they failed. I was officially drafted into my school's archery team. I was on my way to competing in a county archery tournament. It was going to be on Friday at the beginning of the school day. Friday came and I made my way to the archery team's meeting spot, in the gym. I got dressed in our uniform, got our bows, boarded the bus and off we went to the local high school, where students from all middle schools in the county were gathering to compete for the title of Best Middle School Archer. Little did I know the high school we were going to compete at would be the high school I would eventually attend. We gathered in the gym, the targets were all set up with a thick net draped behind. After a opening ceremony, we got started. We were going down in alphabetical order by schools, and while we're waiting, a girl from a rival school started talking to me. I gave her my usual gesture that I'm mute, which is usually waving a hand across my throat while shaking my head or showing a flashcard saying so. It was the hand gesture because our uniforms don't have pockets for me to keep my flashcards in. She was very understanding and accommodating, even showed me the result of an injury she had where she could now belt her arm backwards. And she's a top archery at her school, so how cool is that? When we talked, well, she talked and I listened. She would ask me yes or no questions and then talk about things around those answers. It was great to make a new friend, and one who is supposed to be a rival at that.
What knowledge do you seek?
We spent the next 6 hours competing. I did the best I could, trying not the fear of looking stupid stop me or mess me up. But during my turns, I noticed these two boys who stood out. They weren't cute or anything, but they had, get this, store-bought compound bows. You know, mechanical bows. Bows with simple machines, with pulleys and stuff. Bows that require less strength to draw, but give off the same power, if not more power, when releasing. Was this fair? We all had school-issue composite bows, using our own natural strength. I certainly didn't see it as fair, but more as a challenge. Each time I saw them shoot, I couldn't believe how accurate they are. Was this from their own skill? Or from using compound bows? Either way, I can't complain, I had a school to represent. There was time for each time to have one last go before all the points were being tallied. And, at the very end of it all, it was time to announce the winners. The school those two boys attended got first place. My school got second place. And for the individual student archers, first place went to one of the boys with a compound bow. Second place went to the second boy with a compound bow. And third place went to me. I earned a spot in the top 3 and earned the title of third best middle school archer in the county. I sure hope it was found to be an impressive feat. I was a tiny girl at the time, still am now actually, and I got third place in a tournament. The Monday that followed when school started up again after the weekend break, Mr. Pedigree had me called down to the main office so that I could be given a newspaper where I was talked about in the tournament and a third place ribbon. Unfortunately, neither survived the test of time, so I can't prove it. All I have is just my word. To this day, I still have a small collection of bows with a set of arrows. And oddly enough, one Christmas, my dad even got me a crossbow. Ha ha ha. I'm too weak to use it though. I still do archery even now. Sadly, I never made it to the Olympics, but oh well. Going from county tournaments and skipping straight to global tournaments is a bit of a leap. Since that day, anytime I got bullied for being too weak, or for being a girl, my dad would remind me that I beat out hundreds of boys and other girls at an archery tournament, and while I did lose to a pair of boys with compound bows, I still gave them a run for their money with just using school-issued bows. And with only about 2 weeks worth of experience at that. I don't need to be physically strong or a boy to pull off some impressive feats. And that is the story of when I competed in a county archery tournament and won third place. Would you look at the time? I spent over an hour preparing that story and it only took TDS 10 minutes to read it. I guess I need to tell another story. Okay, this one jumps ahead to high school. My high school graduation, even. It was quite the exciting time, bittersweet. But it was a worthy ending after some bad experiences, and the long story short of that one was, I was harassed so badly I had to be taken out and moved to another. But this high school, the one I was graduating from, was much better. This is actually going to be part 1, barely a footnote. The rehearsals were nothing special, we just practiced going on stage, standing at attention, stuff like that. And the actual graduation part, the staff were careful to make sure none of the students smuggled in weird things, like beach balls and air horns. While students were each called up to receive their diplomas, somehow, someway, someone had a beach ball or a air horn. Way to go, preschool TSA. Then eventually came my turn. I felt so proud of myself with my beautiful white graduation gown all nice and clean. But the biggest mistake was probably the shoes I wore. They had higher heels than what I would normally wear to these formal occasions. I'm more a Mary Jane's kind of girl, like from my favorite story, Alice in Wonderland. Anyways, it was my turn and I tried to stay prim and proper as I went up the short flight of stairs. Then the heels rolled out from under me and I tripped. That got more laughs out of the audience than I wanted, but I wasn't hurt. I just took the damn things off and went on my way, only putting the shoes back on when I got down from the other set of steps. After the ceremony and I got home with my family, my grandmother gifted me with $300 to spend however I want. So, I got with my sister, and what do two ordinary ladies do when they have money? Go to the frickin' mall. And what do two ordinary ladies do with money at the mall? Buy clothes? Screw that noise. Well, not screw it all the way. I bought a dress at some point. Anyways, what I did spend most of the money on was a Nintendo Wii and a copy of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Now we have ourselves the latest gaming console and the easiest fighting game in history. We brought it home and I started to set it up in my bedroom. It was my money and my high school graduation, so it's mine. Haha. So after about an hour or so of pulling a Rule 63 Tony Stark, I got it work, and then tried to insert the Smash Brawl disc, but for some reason, it won't go in. What was I doing wrong? I tried a few times, tried turning it off on again, checked to see if something was inside. So I had only one idea left to try, I pressed the eject button. Something was inside the system. The whirring noises happened, and it spit out a disc. And what disc was it? A copy of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. My sister and I were just rolling on the floor laughing. We searched 2 stores for a copy of Brawl, and it turned out the Wii we just got had a copy of it already inside it, so now we had 2 copies of the game. That goes to show that buying game consoles used sometimes has surprises to them. So what happened to the free second copy of Brawl? I gave it to my sister for when she goes home. She flew in from out of state just to see me graduate. She never got her own Wii, however. Well, that was my second story from my school days. The other stories I had from those days were sad and not worth telling. If you like this kind of thing, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you want me to do more stories every once in a while, or stick to making silly or random gameplay commentary. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, please feed that like button a carrot, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye bye.